Hey everybody, suppose it would help if I actually put myself live on camera. How's everyone doing? Trying to get this thing started at 5 o'clock, but appreciate all of you guys joining and bearing with me. Literally just got home from what was clearly a crazy day at Lambeau Field. Basically the antithesis of what happened a week ago, where Green Bay played pretty darn well for three quarters and then completely fell apart in the fourth. This week, they basically completely fell apart for three quarters and then woke up in the fourth. Nervous moments at the end when the Saints were driving down the field, but man, Green Bay gets the win. I tweeted it out, but it felt like a coming of age moment for Jordan Love. Your left tackle out, your left guard out, your running back out, your top wide receiver out. Jair's out on defense. Devondre's out on defense. Carrington Valentine goes out. At the end, Zach Tom goes out. Like your entire defense or your entire team, excuse me, is just falling apart at the seams. You're down 17-0. Your receivers aren't catching your 50-50 balls. And that's not to say Jordan was perfect by any means up until that point, but my goodness, to what I feel like, like he willed that team to victory in the fourth quarter. Some of the runs, some of the throws, the, fourth down play where he makes a defender miss in the hole and gets the touchdown. Just all of it. It was so exciting to watch and just see him put the team on his back. And the defense obviously had a huge part to do with it as well. From a Joe Barry standpoint, if we're going to, drag him every time the defense has a terrible game, he certainly deserves his flowers when the defense has a good game. They're down to Corey Ballantyne at corner. They only have three corners left in the game at one point. Devondre Campbell is down. Rashawn's still a little bit on a pitch count, although he had a phenomenal game with 3 sacks in that one, including the one that, knocked Derek Carr out of the game. But I thought the defense was, for the most part, really, really good. You can't give them a perfect score. They, allow the touchdown on the kind of the opening drive from the Saints, and then did allow them to get into potential game-winning field goal, range at the end. But overall, they allow 10 points on the day from a defensive standpoint. 7 were on special teams, and that's going to be a winning performance almost every single time. So you would have loved to see them get the turnover margin up a little bit, maybe make some plays in that regard. But overall, really solid day for the defense. And yeah, cool day to be at Lambeau Field. And what I'll say too is you had this day start off as Jordan Love being the captain, Jordan Love being on the pregame, program, that he's headlining it. He's the last one out of the tunnel. It's his first start at Lambeau Field, and everything is trending towards it being, Jordan, like this super exciting day for Jordan Love. Then through three quarters for everyone, but Jordan included, it's kind of a dud. It is a dud. I know at one point, I actually don't even know what it ended up being. I don't know what it actually was at the time, but I know he was in single digit completions and over 20 attempts at one point in that game. So to have that and you're down 17-0, to have that and erase it and figure out a way to come out with a victory in that game, for as much as we want to point to, this is a young football team and there's going to be those moments. It took them 1 week to learn how to close a football game. Like I know there's going to be more moments like that. And there are a plethora of really, bad things that were on tape on this game for Green Bay that they have to get cleaned up, but they found a way to win the football game. And ultimately that's what matters most. A hell of a gutsy performance by Jordan Love and this Packers team. Not pretty by any stretch, but you come out with the W, and that certainly feels a lot better. Zane, thanks so much for the chat. Defense only giving up 10 points was huge. Special teams can't give up the touchdown. Here's to hoping we get our boys back. I'm assuming it means from an injury standpoint. Man, now you have, besides the laundry list of players who were out for this game, you then had Carrington Valentine, Devondre Campbell, and Zach Tom go out of the game and not return. Not ideal, to say the least. So, yeah, they could use some good injury news sooner rather than later. Rashawn playing the way that he is at this point of the season is pretty darn impressive, so you love to see that. Lucas Van Ness, I didn't think he played a ton in this game, but the defense wasn't on the field a ton either, so tough to tell on that one. But, man, yes, they need to get some injury health sooner rather than later. And, yeah, the special teams is disappointing. You're hoping that the special teams is starting to come around and, like, things are starting to go well, and, just didn't feel that way. And, credit Anders Carlson. He's still perfect on the season, made a clutch extra point to put them in the lead at the end. So there definitely deserves some credit there. But, yeah, you don't want to see that special teams snafu where they get 7 from just a bad overall play from the punt coverage team. You wonder, too, like, I do. They didn't have Ennis Gaines in that game. He's a key part of their special teams. You wonder if things maybe would have been slightly different had he been in the game for that, but still can't happen. Your special teams can't fall apart just because Ennis Gaines isn't available for you. So that's not an excuse. Do we lose if Carson hurt? Also, Jordan, him, love, go Pack, go. Honestly, I'm not saying this with the benefit of hindsight. When Jameis first came in, based on how I've seen Carr play this year and based on how Carr was playing in that game, I actually wondered if it was going to be worse for Green Bay when Jameis first came in, of like, they're getting a new quarterback with some energy. And like, I was actually worried that things were going to get worse, not better, because of the Derek Carr injury for Green Bay. And, it's not like the Saints offense was tearing it up prior to the Carr injury. So, you know what? We could play that game. If Derek Carr isn't hurt, maybe Green Bay does lose that game. You know what? If Christian Watson and Aaron Jones and David Bakhtiari and Elton Jenkins and Zach Tom and Devondre Campbell and Eric Stokes and Carrington Valentine, and you want me to go on, like, if they are healthy, Green Bay probably has a much better and easier chance in that game too. So it can go both ways. And like I said, when it first happened, I thought it actually might be to Green Bay's detriment, because I thought maybe Jameis would bring them some juice on offense, but that clearly was not the case. All right, let's see. What is this? I just want to read this. Andy, you ought to have an eye on Nagler's postgame and not create this conflict for we followers and wait till he finishes. She said, oh, I didn't know. I actually didn't know that Nagler was still going live right now. I assumed he was done already with him doing the live show, but we'll have to talk things out a little bit better moving forward. I'll be talking with Aaron tomorrow, as we always do on Cheesehead TV, so you can keep an eye out for that. Love the work that Aaron does, obviously. But yes, I do know from time to time, happy hours on Friday, usually we're conflicting. So I get it. Tom Grassi's probably like, he's on like 99% of the time, it feels like. So there's always going to be a conflict, and it makes it even more cool that you guys decided to hang out with me, because I know there's a lot of really cool stuff out there. Most hated Minnesotan, thanks so much for being a member. By the way, if you haven't checked out Pack-A-Day podcast memberships yet, make sure to do that right now. Packers showing some ability to overcome adversity. Gotta love it. Yeah. And kind of going into the year, it's one of the things that I mentioned is there's going to be some really amazing moments for this team. There's going to be some really disappointing moments. We've seen that through 3 weeks, and we're seeing the roller coaster. If you didn't, like, they had a plus 30 margin for this team. They had a plus 30 margin when they were going into the fourth quarter against Atlanta. They were plus 30 in their first 7 quarters. In the next 7 quarters, they got outscored 30-0 exactly. Like it wasn't 7 quarters. Sorry. It was the next 4 quarters. It was the fourth quarter against Atlanta, and then the first 3 quarters against New Orleans. They got outscored 30-0 in those quarters. So like, total roller coaster. Plus 30 in the first 7 quarters, minus 30, literally on a 30-0 run for Atlanta and New Orleans. And then they come back and put up 18 unanswered against the Saints in the fourth quarter. So pretty crazy roller coaster. We're going to continue to see this throughout the course of the season. There's no question about that. There's going to be some really high highs. There's going to be some really low lows. It would be great if they could get healthy and actually, put their full team together. It's hard not to be like daydreaming of what this offense could look like with Jones and Watson and Dobbs and Wicks and Reed and Musgrave and Bakhtiari and Jenkins and all of these guys. It's really, really hard not to start thinking about that. So they're not there yet. Hopefully, like I said, we get some good news on this sooner rather than later with a big Thursday. With a big Thursday coming up. But yeah, I missed a super chat. All right, let me see if I can find it. I don't think I did. Oh yeah, we did. Sorry. Thank you very much. What did you think of the 2-point conversion decision? If you noticed, I was on Twitter. I tweeted it out 2 plays before they scored the touchdown. I said, if the Packers get the touchdown here, watch that they'll probably go for 2. Matt LaFleur's done that in the past. So I'll talk about this a lot on tomorrow's show, so you can check that out. But this is 1,000,000% the right call in this decision. Super long story short, your odds of making a 2-point conversion are right around 50%. So if you need to get 2 touchdowns anyway, your odds are basically better that you're going to get 1 2-point conversion out of 2 opportunities than that you're actually going to make 2 extra points with it being further out now. So if you have to get 2 touchdowns anyway, the odds are actually in your favor, just from a pure straight up statistical standpoint, that you're going to get 1 of the 2-point conversions more than that you're actually going to get 2 extra points. So it's really close. And you understand why more often than not, they just kick the extra point, because it makes sense. But when you're down by 2 touchdowns and you go for it first, if you get it, Now all you need is an extra point to take the lead if you score another touchdown, which is a complete game changer and actually mathematically gives you the best odds to win the game. Because if you tie the game, you still have to go into overtime. And overtime's like a legitimate coin flip for both teams, and literally can come down to the coin flip. You literally might be at risk of just losing the game because the other team wins the coin toss. So if you can gain a lead and have the opportunity to gain a lead in the actual game itself, it's far better than letting it up to chance in, overtime, literal chance with the coin flip. So when you have to go and get 2 touchdowns anyway, the thinking is you take your chance on the first one. If you miss, your odds are still that you were going to get one of those 2-point conversions. So now you're hoping it's going to be the next one. But if you get the first one, you kick the extra point, and now you're up by 1, which is exactly what happened with Green Bay in this game. So analytically, in every facet of the way, it is the right thing to do. It still takes a little guts and ballsiness from the head coach to actually call it, because there's a world in which you go for 2 and fail and you're down by 8. They go down and score the touchdown again, don't get the 2-point conversion, and now you lose the game because you decided to chase 2-point conversions instead of just kicking extra points. And if that had been the case, you can imagine everyone wants Matt LaFleur's head on a silver platter for losing the game because of 2-point conversion decisions. So it still takes a little bit of guts, but with it has the opportunity for some glory as well. And we're going to see some things from Matt LaFleur. And I love this, by the way. People can complain about that 4th and 2 decision, the Emmanuel Wilson to throw back to Love, to throw to Wicks, etc., and say, what are we doing? Like, can you just get 2 yards? The head coach's job is to put his players in a position to succeed. And you can argue that maybe having Emmanuel Wilson have to throw a ball to Jordan Love isn't necessarily putting his players in a position to succeed. But if Wilson throws a fairly easy ball to Jordan Love on that, Love catches it, it's the easiest play in the world for his guys to execute. He's not asking his players to do anything that they're not capable of. And he put his players in a position to succeed, to not only probably get a big first down, but a huge play on that as well, if everything goes according to plan. And that's another one where if it goes right, he looks like a genius. If it goes wrong, you look like a massive idiot. But he's not afraid to do that. And it does take some, guts and whatever to call those plays, because he is going to get eaten alive if and when it doesn't go according to plan. So I've loved his play calling. I've loved his aggressiveness. It's what they should do. And now it's up to the players to go out and execute. They didn't on that 4th down play. They did on the 2-point conversion play. And that's all you can do, is put your players in a position to succeed. And I thought Matt did that specifically in those 2 situations. All right, what do we have here? All right. So Shea Dad, what did you think of going for it on both 4th down conversion attempts? I like both of them. The plays were there. They just didn't convert. So we just talked about the early 4th down one. I will like the next one when they're down 17-0 and driving down the field, when it's 4th down, you got the incompletion to Patrick Taylor. That's the one I do think you can maybe second guess a little of, like, do you just take the points there and try to keep this a game, like try to extend the game a little bit? I also feel like it's 4th and 2, you're driving down the field, and if you can't get a touchdown there, your odds of just winning the game were really, it felt like really low anyway. And you were going to have to get touchdowns. And if you couldn't score on that one, it just felt like kind of out of reach. So I understood. I would have gone for it like wholeheartedly. And I get hindsight's 2020. I wish they would have maybe ran something. I wish they would have run a slant to Patrick Taylor on that play when you've got the linebacker. It's the exact same situation where everyone talked about this week of like, oh, Joe Barry's a terrible coach. How could Devondre Campbell get lined up 10 yards off field on Bijan Robinson? I think that was a big 3rd down, but Bijan just runs a slant and you have an easy completion for a 1st down. Green Bay got the exact same look. They got Demario Davis, I think like 8 or 9 yards off of Patrick Taylor. I just would have loved to see them run that easy slant route with a little bit of a pick and a rub and throw nice and easy 1st down. Instead, it ended up being a little bit too complicated, and Love and Taylor weren't on the same page. But I think that, like I said, that's the one you could maybe second guess a little bit and say, hey, maybe just take the 3 points there and extend the game. Like I said, I would have gone for it and didn't have any issue with it. You just would have loved to have seen them convert on that situation. Jade Heath, thanks so much for that. Really appreciate it. All right. Tyler, great question. What do we do with Patrick Taylor now? We've used all 3 of his call-ups. A lot of times this stuff just takes care of itself naturally. And what I mean by that is, I don't know, hopefully they don't have to place anyone on IR, meaning, whether it's Elton, whether it's Bakhtiari, whether it's, Zach Tom, we just don't know. Carrington Valentine, Devondre Campbell. Hopefully none of them are IR worthy, but usually get to this point in the season and somebody has to go on IR, and that just kind of takes care of itself. And then you call him up. It's very obvious that he's ahead of Emmanuel Wilson at this point. So there's, I will put it this way. I think if they cut Emmanuel Wilson, I don't think he gets claimed. So there's a possibility you just cut Emmanuel Wilson, you bring him back in the practice squad. Even if you lose him, I think we've seen he's like a fine back, but he's not changing your offense. Like these last couple of weeks are the exact situation where if Emmanuel Wilson was the guy and he was going to bring something incredibly different to the table, we would have seen it. That, it's fine, right? But he's not like a game changer. At least not that we've seen in any capacity as of yet. So I think you could go in that direction. You could probably move on from somebody like Zane Anderson. He was inactive before he even got hurt in some of those situations anyway. So they could maybe, either just place him on IR and see when he comes back, or, just release him with an injury designation and then pick up Patrick Taylor that way. So we'll see. Or maybe just Jones is back this week and they just go Jones, Dillon, and Wilson and just don't activate Taylor. But I think they'll probably find a way to get him on the roster, but we'll have to kind of wait and see a little bit. Dylan, thanks so much for that. Crazy gritty win for the young guys. I agree. And it was one of those things when the Patrick Taylor play went incomplete, the 4th and 2 to Taylor, that was like the moment for me. It's like, all right, just not your day. And then you had the Jaden Reed touchdown in the back of the end zone that gets dropped. And it's just like, all right, it's just not your day. And even like for everyone there, you just saw like, all right, nothing's going Green Bay's way. There were times where it felt like the penalties weren't going really Green Bay's way. The injuries weren't going Green Bay's way, and just all of it. And then you obviously had the gritty comeback from the Packers. I will say, I thought there were moments in the fourth quarter, especially when they were starting to put that first drive together that did stall out in the 4th and 2. It did go through my head of like, if this were a Packers game and they were up 17-0 and it was reversed, we would have all been saying as Packer fans of like, you're letting them hang around. You're letting them hang around. Like it was 17-0 at half and you've done nothing. You're letting them hang around. And if you let a team hang around, crap happens. And in this case for the Saints, crap happened. And their quarterback obviously gets knocked out of the game. Green Bay's able to just keep it close enough. They take the 18-17 lead. Jameis leads them down for a field goal. They miss the field goal. And before you know it, Green Bay celebrating and somehow picking up the win. And as Packer fans, we've been on the opposite side of that a multitude of times, it feels like. So it was awesome to be on the winning side of that this time around. Worried a lot about impact of Campbell's injury. Well, first of all, I will say I thought the platoon of Wilson and McDuffie worked pretty well. And I will also say I don't think Campbell has been great so far this season. He's been fine. And of course, I want him to be back, and he's the starting linebacker, and he's better than McDuffie. He's better than Wilson. So, yeah, it sucks. But I don't know that I'm super concerned. Like of all the injuries right now, Devondre's might be at like the bottom of my list, just because you need one of your corners back, either Jair or Carrington Valentine, or you're going to be in big trouble. Or Stokes. I guess Stokes is theoretically, could return this week. I don't think that's going to happen, but you need one of your corners back right now, because I don't think you want Corey Ballantyne out there playing a ton. You need your running back. You need your wide receiver back, your left tackle, your right tackle, your left guard. So there's a lot of moving parts here. So yes, bummed about Devondre, but he's probably towards the lower portion of my list with all of Green Bay's injuries right now. All right, Vex, thank you so much as always. You're always in here. Always appreciate that. Love Luke getting more involved. No more AJ, please. AJ had the nice reception, the little 3rd and 10, broke a tackle. And it was weird. And I don't know why this happens, but there was a little spurt there. He had that 4th down, completion. And then I think he had like a run after that went for maybe 7 or 8 yards. And it felt like Dillon was kind of getting ramped up a little bit and kind of getting going. And then that's when they took him out. And it was like, he's just starting to get a little momentum in the game. And then it was like, all right, now we got to get, Wilson and Taylor in. So not a great game from Dillon again. A lot of bad blocking again from this Green Bay team. So certainly something that they still have a ton of work to do. But it's been a tough go for it so far for AJ. But yes, I love seeing Musgrave get more involved, and cannot wait to see more Luke Musgrave, to be honest. All right, Tyler, thanks again. How patient do we need to be with Love's deep ball accuracy? At what point do we start to worry if that ever develops? Not yet. And I do think a couple things. And I think Matt LaFleur mentioned it post game in his press conference, but there's a lot of young players, and it on in live action and in real time, it makes it look like Love is just missing egregiously. And in some cases, I'm sure there are those misses, and I'm sure it is on Jordan. But you have to remember, like when you're running like a post route, and I know Musgraves wasn't like exactly a post, but if you cut it off like a half yard in a different way, either too short or too long, your trajectory on that changes entirely of where to place that ball. So if you're going up this, you're like up and running a post, and you cut it off like just a half yard difference, it's coming here. If it's like a yard, it's going there. And if it's past, it's going there. And like that difference is massive. And what if the receiver or tight end runs it right, it might be that Love is spot on. And if he runs it wrong, it might be a really, brutal looking throw. And I'm not saying that's all the case. I think some have been on Jordan, unquestionably, but I do think he's trying to get the rhythm and timing down with a variety of different receivers and tight ends who are playing in their first games as well. So I think that will come. I think it'll get better. Jordan's gotten better at pretty much everything since he's come into the league. So I'm not putting anything past him. I do think there's probably a portion of this with Jordan where you have to we're so used to, especially the high ends of Brett and Aaron, where perfection was like literally almost perfection at times. The really good for Jordan Love might be kind of what we've seen so far. It might be some amazing throws. It might be some really good mobility. It might be leading his team to victories, but it might be like 60, 61% completion percentage and maybe less accurate than we've seen some of those previous quarterbacks, which is understandable. It's tough to live up to those, legends that have come before him. So we'll see, but I do think it's going to continue to get better. And I do think with hopefully the return of Christian Watson and Aaron Jones and, Bakhtiari and Jenkins over time, hopefully things get a little bit more gelled together. And as he just plays with Jaden Reed and Luke Musgrave and Dontavian Wicks and all those guys a little bit more, I think that'll come a little bit better as well. David McCluskey, thanks so much for that. And like I always say, if you're gonna donate like that, make sure to ask a question. But I really appreciate it, David. Brian, pay Rashawn Gary. Yeah, it was a really fun performance from him. I thought he was phenomenal in week one. I thought he had a rough week in week two. And then I thought, at first glance, he was a difference maker in this game. And it's we talk about Joe Barry a little bit earlier, but like with the good and the bad, like if your playmakers are out there making plays, everyone looks a lot smarter and a lot better. Nobody's going to, I don't think, be on Joe Barry this week. And a part of that is because his playmakers went out and made some plays, specifically Rashawn Gary with 3 sacks in this one. So it's kind of crazy how that works. Your best players play well, and there's less questions on the defensive coordinator the week that happens. So, but yeah, heck of a game from him. Natalie, thanks a ton from that. Andy, let's go. What a fourth quarter. Very, very fun. I'm with you. Like those are just so freaking fun. And especially when you grab victory from the jaws of defeat, because everyone's in that stadium just thinking, thank goodness they have a Thursday night game so they can just rip up the tape on this one and just start fresh on Thursday, because it was kind of a nightmare 3 quarters and nothing went their way. And there were so many self-inflicted wounds, so many penalties, so many drops, so many, just all of it, just ugly, ugly football. Your special teams gives up a touchdown and it just feels terrible. And then to have that where you're just like, oh, thank goodness there's a game Thursday so we can get over this quick, to like, oh my goodness, they came back and won. And this is the most amazing thing. It's the home opener. It's Love's first start at Lambeau. And he leads them on a comeback. Like, that's why we watch. That's what's so freaking fun about all of that stuff. So Natalie, I'm right there with you. And thank you so much for the chat there. All right. Let's see. Well, I'll drink the Kool-Aid, Mr. Kool-Aid. Have we seen enough from Dylan to make a trade for Jonathan Taylor? I don't think a trade for Jonathan Taylor is coming anytime soon. You got to run block first before you make an investment in a running back. And I know Aaron Jones can make sometimes bad blocking look good, and I'm sure Jonathan Taylor can do a little bit of that as well. My guess is the Colts are still going to ask for stupid stuff in return, and Green Bay's going to have no interest in that. So Green Bay is going to make that call. Probably they make the call again and say, hey, have your price gone down? They're going to be like, nope. And they're going to be like, all right, well, we'll see you later. So no, I don't think Jonathan Taylor is going to be a Green Bay Packer anytime soon, but wouldn't shock me if Brian at least made the cursory call one more time. Yeah, Matt, he's really, really fun. Like, I know a lot of people want to talk about Reed and Musgrave, and understandably so. that dude is going to be something really, really fun in this league, Dontavian Wicks. Like, there's just no, like, I can't find a world in which the stuff that he's doing doesn't translate as he continues to get better and better. It's just, it's too smooth. It's too clean. He has things that he needs to do to work on his game as well, but I'm very, very excited about Dontavian Wicks. I'm excited to watch the tape of him this week. Game Boy, thanks for being a member. I talked about this a little bit the other day, but there's three big ones. Safety, we know. Darnell Savage, Rudy Ford, free agents. Your only safeties that are under contract next year are Zane Anderson right now and Anthony Johnson Jr. And by the way, they only needed to really deactivate, I think, one player in this game because all the rest were injured. I think maybe I'm trying to think if there was anyone that wasn't injured besides Anthony Johnson Jr. But basically, the one guy they decided to deactivate was Anthony Johnson Jr. So that kind of tells you all you need to know, that they aren't viewing him as a potential player. Like, they activated Caleb Jones and Brenton Cox and others for their first game before activating Anthony Johnson Jr. in this one. So they obviously don't have a ton of faith in him quite yet. And Zane Anderson's the only one under contract besides him at safety next year. So that's a clear one. Offensive line right now doesn't seem, well, right now it probably does seem that way, but you look at Bakhtiari, this very well could be his last year, either via retirement, release, trade, whatever. John Runyon Jr., free agent. Josh Nijman, free agent. I don't think quite know exactly what you have in Josh Myers yet. So, and even if some of those things go well and you feel like you can go into the season with, I don't know, I don't think you want to go with Rasheed Walker, Royce Newman, Josh Myers, John Runyon Jr., and Zach Tom. So, and even if you do feel comfortable with that, which is what we saw today, you don't have much depth after that. So I think offensive line and then running back, clearly the other one. Dylan's a free agent and is not having a great year. Emmanuel Wilson, Patrick Taylor are not going to change your mind. And then Jones, if not his last year, this year, like, he's winding down in Green Bay in some capacity. Man, what a week for Chicago. 41-0. Let me check this too. The last I checked, like, they didn't even trust Fields to like throw the ball. I haven't been watching it, obviously, but I looked at the box score and it was shocker. This may surprise some of you, but Justin Fields thinking less on the field did not help them on offense in this game. It's amazing. I know. Where's the freaking box score? There it is. Sorry, I know me pulling up box score is probably not the greatest form of content in the world, but I really want to see these numbers. All right, 5 of 11, 39 yards with a pick and 3 sacks for Justin Fields. Oh, my goodness. It's almost to a point. He has 2 rushes for 22 yards. It's almost to the point where, like, if I hadn't been complete, jerks the entirety of the offseason, their fans, you like maybe would feel a little bit bad for them. But man, what an absolute nightmare of a week for the Chicago Bears. And then, like, it has to be even worse seeing Green Bay have the comeback victory. Minnesota 0-3 as well. So some really fun stuff. The Bears and Vikings are going to be a combined 0-6. Packers and Lions combined 4-2 and face off this week for number 1 in the NFC North. Yeah, Lee, I think we do have to start being cognizant of this a little bit. And maybe more as just NFL fans of, like, we can't have them go there and ruin 2 amazing players because it does seem like that happens. But I do think you have to, like, start cheering a little bit for some Panther and Bear wins just to maybe get them off the, like, number 1 and 2 line for draft pick status. Carolina down by 2 right now to Seattle. All right. What else we got? What else do you guys want to talk about? Yeah. Justin Fields not having a great day. I didn't see this, Kevin. I heard about it a little bit. I know they were talking about it in the post-game show that I caught a little bit of, but it sounded like maybe the Chargers went for it on 4th and then didn't get it and gave the Vikings a chance. And then the Vikings blew some clock management at the end and only got 1 play instead of 2, something like that. But yeah, it sounded like it wasn't good. I'm excited to go back and watch that. Yeah, Miami freaking 70 points. That was crazy. Oh, Dylan, I'm glad you brought this up. I have been, we could say hard or harsh on Darnell Savage. I would say I've been realistic with Darnell Savage and the way he's played the last 2 seasons. Just to kind of give you my thoughts throughout the course of his time in Green Bay, I thought his rookie season was fine. It was good. It was good for a rookie starting safety. You saw some flashes. You were excited of what he could become. I thought his second year in the COVID year in 2020, he had a really nice season. I graded him really, really well that year. And I thought that was his best season as a pro. I thought his last 2 seasons were hot garbage, and I called it out as such. I thought it was some really, really bad football over the past 2 seasons. And I am so happy to see him playing with so much more confidence. He is flying around the field. It hasn't translated to interceptions or big plays or sacks or anything like that, but he is playing so much more sound as a safety. He's playing with so much more confidence, and I'm really, really enjoying the Darnell Savage that he had a really great tackle on special teams. Matt LaFleur told a great story of Darnell Savage too, of like, basically Matt LaFleur is always preaching of like, you got to have like good body confidence and, not get down on yourself. And, and he was saying like how he was really down and like, just because the offense wasn't able to do anything. And Darnell Savage came up to Matt LaFleur on a couple of occasions, said, don't worry about it. We got you. We got you. We got your back. Don't worry. Just keep going. Like we're going to pick you up. And Matt said he just gave Darnell a huge hug after the game and just appreciated the confidence that he and the leadership that Savage displayed. So I'm going to be as realistic as I can possibly be on players, good, bad, or ugly. I wouldn't be, I'd say, doing my job or whatever you want to call it if I just sugarcoated everything. I don't think that's what you guys want me to do. But I want every single person, coach, player, GM, scout, I want everyone in that locker room and in that organization to do well. I would much prefer Green Bay wins a lot of Super Bowls and has Hall of Famers all throughout their roster. So it gives me nothing but amazing joy to see Darnell playing at a totally different level this year. Like I said, it's not amazing. It's not like he's grading out with huge numbers, but it's just so much better. So much better. And it's been really fun to see that turnaround for Darnell and really throughout the season so far. Yeah. Omar, I think Wicks looked good again, though. Reed is the stud, and so is Musgrave. Dubs is the man. I think they do need to, work a little bit on some of the 50-50 balls. I thought up until really that Jaden Reed catch at the end and then the Dobbs catch at the end, I thought the wide receivers kind of let Jordan down on a lot of 50-50 balls in this game. And Matt LaFleur kind of mentioned that in his post-game presser as well. So there's a lot that needs to get cleaned up, but it's still, we see the vision, meaning we know what these players can become. We know that they're already pretty good. And with a little bit of time and experience and seasoning, I think we all think they can become a lot better. If you've got an Aaron Jones around them and a Christian Watson around them and a David Bakhtiari and an Elton Jenkins, and all of a sudden you've got all those guys, again, it's easy to dream and think of just how good this potential offense could be if everyone was actually healthy. So the attention to detail needs to be a lot better. The run blocking needs to be a crap ton better. It has been atrocious through 3 games. It's not all on AJ Dillon. It's just not. But there's a lot of things to be really excited about with this offense long-term, if not in this game, because most of this game was an unmitigated nightmare for the offense. All right. Most Hated Minnesotan, thanks so much for that. Other than the Chiefs game, what home game are you looking forward to most? Trying to figure out one other potential game to go to this year. That's a good question. Let's pull this up. The Tampa one actually, or do they, am I thinking of, I know they play the Rams. Sorry, just pulling up the schedule here. That week 18 game against the Bears to see if they go 0-18 or not should be, or 0-17 or not should be pretty fun. I say half kiddingly, but maybe also kind of for real. What else we got? All right, got the schedule pulled up here. Finally, Chiefs will be interesting. I think the Lions this week, Thursday Night Football, is a ton of fun. Like I think that game is going to be very, very telling. It probably is. I know you probably don't have time to get tickets to that game in time or whatever, but like that Lions game this Thursday is probably one that I think you have to mark a little bit. That Tampa game looks a little bit better. The Chargers game, I think that's going to be a really fun one. But I think if I had to choose one, the best remaining game on the schedule for home games, I think it might be this Thursday against the Lions, especially for a team that beat Green Bay twice last year. Green Bay's defense did good against Detroit in both of those games. Their offense was complete crap, and Aaron Rodgers played 2 of his worst games last year against Detroit. So we'll see if Love can maybe improve that a little bit. Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing, Jesse, about the offensive line for the Packers is like their pass blocking has been freaking awesome. I thought Rashid and Royce Newman, Like, again, if we're going to rag on the Joe Barrys and the Royce Newmans when they are not doing well, we have to give them credit when they do. And I thought, again, the run blocking, we can talk about everyone. The run blocking is just not good enough. But man, oh man, from a pass protection standpoint, I mean, there are a ton of teams that would give what Green Bay's a lot of backups on the offensive line today gave the Packers from a pass pro standpoint. So they deserve a lot of credit from that side of things, especially in pass pro. Excuse me. I'm glad you asked this question, Angry Casual Fan. Do you think we should get a veteran receiver and tight end? Absolutely not. I don't want to see any veterans take sniping snaps from this young, talented core of players. You know what they need to get better? Reps. The last thing I need is that Sammy Watkins out there stealing snaps from Dontavian Wicks and Romeo Dobbs and Jaden Reed. No, hard pass. The last thing I need is some slow veteran tight end, taking snaps away from Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave and Ben Sims. No freaking way. So, in fact, I think I won't go this far. Again, I'm never going to cheer for somebody to lose their job. I want them just to get better. But I actually think they the two players that aren't holding their weight right now from the, weapon standpoint, AJ Dillon and Josiah DeGuara, veterans. They're the older, experienced ones. Those are the ones that I want to see more from, are the ones that have the experience. Dillon and DeGuara not giving Green Bay much. It's the younger guys that are giving them the bigger spark. So no, I am 1,000,000% good from any sort of veteran receivers or tight ends. Now, if Watson, is all of a sudden a longer term injury and you end up with Dobbs and, Reed out and Musgrave goes out and you're still winning football games, but you're just out of talented bodies, then sure, we can have a different conversation. But as of right now, hard pass on any veterans. Wait. Am I pooping on someone's parade? If I'm pooping on anyone's parade, I'm very, very sorry. I'm not trying to poop on anyone's parade. All right, what else we got here? Oops. Split screen gaming. Musgrave's blocking has been way better than I thought it would be, especially today. Couldn't agree more. And I said this after week 1. If you would have told me that this was Luke Musgrave in year 4, and this was the best blocking he would have ever given Green Bay, I'd be like, yeah, that sounds about right. But this might have even been better than I was expecting at that point. So the fact that he's putting some good blocking, and it's not great, it's not perfect. He's still going to get beat from time to time. All right, good. I'm glad I'm not pooping on anyone's parade, Mark. But yeah, it's much better than I expected, especially at this point. And I'll go back and say it one more time. When I did his scouting report, the two things that gave me a lot of confidence in him from a blocking standpoint is he always hit his landmarks. You could tell he cared about it. He had great attention to detail and he gave effort doing it. And even if you're not the biggest guy, even if you're not the most, technically sound blocker, if you do those things, if you get to your spots at the right time, if you give the effort doing it and you're doing everything you can to at least get in the way, there's going to be some value to what you can bring to the table. And he's shown that so far. Austin, what I don't want to do is every single week, one unit has a bad week. It's all right, Joe Barry in one game out of 3 weeks so far in this season has had a bad-ish week. And I think against Atlanta, you can say it was a bad week for the defense. I don't think there's any arguing that. But 2 of the 3 weeks was really freaking good. So I don't know that we need to jump to the conclusion of immediately fire Joe Barry. And if Rich Bisaccia has one bad week out of 3 weeks so far, I don't know that we need to immediately jump to is Rich Bisaccia a terrible coach? And if Matt LaFleur's offense through 3 quarters can't literally get any yards on the ground, I don't know that we need to jump to the conclusion of, oh, Matt's a terrible play caller and he doesn't know what he's doing as a coach. I think it's a process. It's a younger team. They're really talented. We need to see more. We need to see more consistency. We're going to have time to evaluate all of that. But so far, we've seen good from offense, good from defense, good from special teams. We've seen bad from offense, bad from defense, bad from special teams. They're 2-1, and they've got a lot of work yet to be done. But we can see the vision for this team. But I do think that a lot of the special teams' success in 2022 was covered by Keyshawn Nixon. And I think a lot of their failures were basically covered by Keyshawn Nixon. So I do think there's a lot of work to be done still on special teams. I will say that. I will. I'll say this again. I say it every single time. Not an Irish hat. It is their Live Lucky hats. It's black clover. So yeah, and they're just getting free advertising from me every single time because I don't advertise for them and they won't send me any free stuff. The jerks, despite me wearing their hat for 4 years or whatever it's been. But no, not Irish related. I'm not a Notre Dame fan. So yeah, that's what that is. Game Boy, thanks so much. Do you think Goody's slow burn at drafting has made our talent less than it could be? Like he's had three good drafts, but his first couple of ones were misses. I don't know. Like I think a lot of this is going to be on Jordan Love. If Jordan's really good, that's going to certainly change the thought process on what Goody's done as a GM. I think he's had some really good picks. I mean, look at Zach Tom just kind of tearing it up at right tackle and what he's been able to do. That's a phenomenal day 3 pick. You know, this draft looks pretty freaking impressive. So I think it's going to take a little bit yet to sort of sort out exactly what Goody's been from a drafting standpoint. But I think overall he's been better more often than not than like sort of the league average from a drafting standpoint. So we'll see though. Joseph, oh, you're responding to somebody, but this is still a good one. So no one is throwing a parade, but very encouraging to have a 17-point comeback win. That is something I agree. I very much agree. Yeah, I have a feeling, Lee, that this is going to be one that shows up on I'm sure on my film review this week because so we're talking about that 2-point conversion by Jordan Love. Like that was a fun play by him, ad-libbed. I don't know, just looking at it live, I haven't even seen a replay of it yet, but just watching it live, what he was able to do to buy time and then find Toure. Like, I don't think the defensive back thought there was a chance in heck he was coming back to that side and throwing to Toure. And then all of a sudden the ball was on Toure. I think the defensive back's just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So yeah, I'm really excited to watch that one on all 22 big time. Aiden, why didn't Matt take a timeout on that last New Orleans drive? I think he did on the last play he did. I think he saved his timeouts accordingly up until the point. Like he also like you have to be careful because in that situation, you don't want to give them more time to get in better field goal range. So like you want to kind of put the pressure on them at the same time, but you want to save as many timeouts and as much time as you can in case they do make a field goal. So I actually thought it was kind of the best of both worlds. At least that could have been expected at that point where if they missed the field goal, it was game over and it was still a tough field goal. It's like 40 some yards. And if they made it, you still have a minute left down by one or two. And then, down by 2 and a field goal wins the game and you still have a minute with 2 timeouts. So I thought he, for the most part, did the best of both worlds of trying to give himself outs if they did get the ball back, but not give them like more time and, more possibilities to make it an even easier field goal. Yeah, Ryan, I agree. I don't think there was, at least that I can remember, really any game management issues. In fact, I would argue that there was a game management win because the going for 2 in following the analytics on that was a huge reason Green Bay was able to get out of there with a win in regulation. Randy, I am with you. Sometimes this is why like all of this stuff is so insanely hard to predict. Anders Carlson was the biggest roller coaster ride in the world through training camp and preseason, family night, all of it. You didn't know what the heck was going to happen next. And I did have some like dumb hope, meaning like there was nothing really founded by it, but like I did have some dumb hope of like, hey, maybe once he gets the same long snapper and the same holder time after time after time, he can start getting some consistency together. But like, he's been perfect through 3 weeks and there could be another roller coaster and he could go through a stretch of missed kicks, but so far so freaking good from Anders. Angry casual fan. Do I like LaFleur's play calling? Depends. When it works, I like it. When it doesn't, I don't. That's just how it works. If plays work, we all are really excited by it. I thought like some of the stuff he's come up with, that throwback screen to Aaron Jones in week 1 was really, really fun. The flea flicker last week, some of the different formations he's been putting out there, like overall, and I like what he's doing. I think some of it comes down to execution. Some of it's not the right play call at the right time. And he's said as much. So there's some good, some bad, but more often than not, if the play call works, it's a good play call. And if it doesn't, you hate it. Just kind of the name of the game. But yeah, overall, I do tend to enjoy it. Now, on a day where the Dolphins put up 70 points, yeah, there's always going to be something to aspire to be better. But overall, yeah, I'm mostly pretty good on that. This is interesting. I'm actually interested in the chat on this one. Did anyone else, when that first happened, just assume that Gary was going to get flagged for that? Because you can't drive quarterbacks into the ground. And I haven't seen them call that stuff quite as much this season. But like there were times where, I mean, Clay Matthews and other players have done far, 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 far less than that. And got penalized for it. So I kind of thought when he slammed him to the ground, that he was going to get flagged on that one. And maybe he should have been. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't know. And this is, of course, what we're going to get to, where some people say I thought it was illegal and others say it wasn't that bad. But yeah, I don't know. I'd be interested in the thoughts on that. And when I first saw it, I thought they were going to throw a flag on it. And not either right or wrong. I don't even know. Like, I don't even know how I feel on it anymore of like what should and shouldn't be a penalty in the modern NFL. But like just knowing what they've called in the past, I thought for sure once he like kind of more slammed him to the ground, I thought they were going to call it. Yeah. And this is probably the right. So I love that. I think there's been 3 answers in the chat. One said they thought it was illegal. One said it wasn't that bad. And one was like, it was borderline. So that's exactly where we are as a society on trying to figure out what's a penalty or not. And I don't know, but I will say like my gut reaction when it happened was like, I immediately watched the ref to see if he was going to throw the flag. And again, I don't know if that's like right or wrong. It's just that was my immediate reaction. Yeah, he didn't land on him. That is true. Maybe he could still get fined. I don't know, but that it's an interesting conversation that I don't have like a perfect answer for anymore. All right. Nick, thanks so much for the chat. Signature game for Love's early career. Go Pack Go. Absolutely. Absolutely. There are different milestones for a quarterback of like things that they can do. And I'm sure it ate. I'm sure it absolutely ate at Jordan Love this past week that he had the opportunity to lead his team to a game-winning field goal and march his team down the field, and they go 4-0. He made a phenomenal throw to Samori Toure on 4th down that they could have converted, would have been called back anyway due to the penalty. But like, I'm sure it ate away at him that he wasn't able to bring his team back and get that victory. And then he has another opportunity this week to march his team down the field and go get a game-winning touchdown. And what does he do? He marches them right down the field and gets a game-winning touchdown. And I thought this was like, that's the learning process, but that's another milestone. It's one to get your first win. It's your first start, your first win. And then there's going to be the questions of like, all right, well, if you're down late in a game in a tough situation against a tough defense, can you go and get a win? And this one he did. That was really, really impressive. All right. Any greater new offerings in the press box food spread at Lambeau? No, same thing, but the omelet bar is back this year. So that was a win. Although they gave me the wrong omelet today. So I was a little disappointed in that, but that omelet lady was killing it. She was flipping 3 omelets at once. It was impressive to see. And by the way, it shocked Jacob Westendorf, who was in the press box today. He's like, I'm surprised you eat eggs. And I said, wait till you find out that my omelet of choice is a mushroom and onion omelet. So for those of you criticizing my food taste and taste buds and think I just eat like a child, I normally do, but I do have some, some flavor profile at least. Yeah, those are Shea Dad. I was kind of wondering the same thing of like, if New Orleans did get the field goal at the end there, what would have that drive looked like? And you didn't want to see it because you wanted Green Bay just to get the win. But there also was a part of me that's like, kind of want to see Jordan, another opportunity, 1 minute left, down by 2, need field goal range. Can he drive him down to win the game? But I'll take it. Ketchup on omelet? No. Hot sauce, sure. If you want to do hot sauce, that's great. Ketchup on omelet? No. Baby blue. Wes's eyes were baby blue, Dylan. Ryan, early Lions game predictions. I have no idea. And the only reason I say that is, I would like to go back and watch the Lions tape. I know they won against Atlanta, which obviously Green Bay just lost against Atlanta, but maybe more importantly, I need to know the injury report. If all the same guys are out this week, plus no Valentine, no Campbell, and no Zach Tom, I'm going to probably go with the Lions in that one. But yeah, I need to see the injury report. But either way, I think it should be a fun, entertaining game. Road team on a Thursday night is always at a huge disadvantage. So we'll see how that ultimately goes. But I need to see some of the injury report this week before I have a better feel for that. We need more speed at the running back position. Yeah, I don't know. Like I do think I would like to see them just bring in a running back. And I don't mean like necessarily a veteran, but like, can you find somebody at like Goody's done a pretty good job of like finding players on opposing teams' practice squads and just those sort of things. Like, is there somebody out there that they can add that just has a little bit different juice to them? I do think there's some validity to that. I don't necessarily know that it's going to happen, but I certainly wouldn't hate it. Well, it's always pizza. My favorite post game, and in fact, I think I'm going to throw in a pizza here in just a little bit, probably as soon as we're done here. By the way, probably 10 minutes left, so get your questions in. We're going to go until the top of the hour, and then call the night, rewatch the game, start breaking down some tape, see if the all 22 is out, record a podcast for tomorrow morning for you guys. Maybe watch a little bit of what is it, Steelers Raiders tonight. Ben Berg loves poise is unreal. It really, really is. It's fun, really fun to watch. He does not get rattled. And that was one of the things on his scouting report coming out of Utah State is they would have games where I always forget if it was LSU or Alabama. I think it was LSU maybe that they played against in that second season. And he was just completely outmatched. He didn't have any matchups that he could go to. The defense was just better than every single one of his guys out on the field. And he just kept going out and just kept positive, no frustration, no anger, and just kept firing. And there wasn't much he could do, but that was on tape even in college that he just kept battling no matter what the situation was, never complained, never got rattled, just was always the same even keeled player day in and day out. And we've seen that obviously in Green Bay as well. Yeah, much better this week, although some really crappy offensive plays through the first 3 quarters. So it's nice to have the advantage in plays, but you got to make the most of them too. And they didn't always do that. Also, then when you get the punt return for a touchdown, you get back-to-back drives for the offense so there's advantages there, but you got to make the most of them. What is I saw somebody posting the Cowboys score. What do we got? Man, Cowboys still losing, down by 5, 1st and 10 on 35, something like that. Hey, Bears got a field goal. Congratulations, Chicago, 41-3. Way to go. I have no idea on Zach Tom's injury, but we should know more pretty quickly because it's such a short week. So we'll get an injury report on Monday. Now it won't be like questionable, doubtful or whatever, but we'll get if they, would have practiced or not. I'm assuming Zach will be did not participate, but no idea if it's going to be long-term or not. I think Love had the heart. Yeah. I don't know if anyone was able to, for anyone that was there, they'll know, but if you didn't, I posted the Twitter video of it. And I don't even think the video does it justice. When Jordan Love came out of the tunnel today, it got a pop. There was a legitimate like goosebump ovation for Jordan Love, his first time out of the tunnel. A really, really, really cool moment for Jordan. And yeah, it just was what it was. So I think he had a lot of hearts already, but he definitely won. I think hopefully a remainder of some. There's always going to be haters. There's always going to be somebody that I'm sure doesn't like him, but he definitely did his part in that fourth quarter today to, I think, win some more people over. Yeah, McDuffie is like one of those players where, like, if he's your starter, you're kind of always looking to replace him. But if he's your backup and he needs to fill in for you, you're always like, oh, he's kind of a nice player. He plays fast. He rallies to the football. Not the most physical, not the most athletic player in the world, but he does a nice job. I thought he and Wilson did a pretty nice job in their platoon today, filling in for Devondre Campbell. I need a Kenneth Waller touchdown here from Seattle, by the way. I could use the fantasy points, and I've got Seattle. Oh, look at that. I asked for it, and I get it. Kenneth Waller touchdown, get the fantasy points, and I've got Seattle in Survivor as well. So, although, again, we don't need Carolina losing any more games because we don't need Chicago's draft pick there to be any better. The John Runyon of linebackers. I think John's having a pretty nice season this year. I think he had the holding penalty today. We'll see how he graded out, but overall, he's had a pretty nice year so far. Big free agent year for him. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't really think of that. Did he not? Yeah, I guess he didn't do the Lambeau leap after the rushing touchdown, huh? He had to go. They had to go for two. So I don't know. Maybe that played a little bit of a part there. But yeah, I don't think he's ever done one. So that'll be interesting to see when that happens. Yeah, sorry, Kenneth Walker. Sorry, did I say Kenneth Waller? My bad. My bad. Definitely meant Kenneth Walker. I also have Darren Waller on my fantasy team, so that might have been my issue there. All right, guys, I'm probably going to wrap up here pretty quick. Anyone else got any other questions they want to get in? Make sure I hit all the super chats really quick. I think I got all of them. All right. That's a really good point too. Maybe he didn't want to do the Lambeau leap when they were losing. That could be the case. We'll end with this one. First of all, thank you, Will. I'm proud of me too, but thank you very much. Where did this one go? Peter. I want to answer Peter's questions here if I can get a hold of it. All right. Do other teams start to sit first-year quarterbacks to learn now that they're seeing what Jordan Love is doing? I'm assuming is kind of the question here. I do think it's so hard, first of all, for teams to draft a quarterback early and sit them. You have to remember, like, so many of these other teams, like GMs are constantly fighting for their jobs. Head coaches are constantly fighting for their jobs. And when a GM drafts a quarterback, like there's pressure on them to get in the game right away and show what they're capable of. I do think that we might start to see teams following Green Bay's sort of way of doing things a little bit more if Love continues to turn out. But other teams are in a lot different situations. Not a lot of GMs were in a position that Brian Gutekunst was, that he knew he had the time, to be able to do that. And obviously they still had Aaron Rodgers at that point, which helps things a ton too. But I do think things are, teams are going to at least have to start looking at, like, all right, they went from, Favre to Rodgers to Love, and they did it by, letting the quarterback sit for a couple of years. But I mean, the bigger issue is that most of the teams that are drafting a quarterback early are the teams that don't have a quarterback already, that need a quarterback right now. And like, yeah, you could sit Anthony Richardson, but is like, do you want to start? I know Gardner Minshew won today, but like, do you want to start him all year? It's not going to sell tickets either. Anthony Richardson will sell tickets. And it's just things that like other teams have to be cognizant of and constantly thinking of, that Green Bay is lucky that more often than not, they don't have to think of those things. So I do think we might see a little bit more of that. Jennifer, thank you so much for being a member. And yes, show will be up. I think I'll put it up at 5 a.m. tomorrow with me doing the live chat here today. So we'll see. Maybe I put it up at midnight. Maybe I put it up at 5 a.m. But either way, it will be up for you guys. Appreciate you a ton. See you guys right here bright and early tomorrow morning with an all new episode. That's going to do it for me for right now. But until next time, and as always, and especially after a 17-point comeback victory, 18-point comeback victory, go Pack Go. I'll leave it at that.